What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for joining me for this Midday Monologue Monday as I am getting ready, gearing up, moving forward to start a new RPG campaign. Some of you may have been following what we've been doing in Dungeons & Dragons with our Tales from the Table. Thursday drops for the second and third Thursday of every month. That's coming to a close as far as your perspective of watching and my perspective of filming goes. And now we're going to be taking a little break from Dungeons & Dragons. I mean, the 20-sided warriors are going to be 10-sided warriors for a little while. Because we're moving to White Wolf Publishing Games, one of their hottest titles from the 90s, which has seen a little bit of renovation, so to speak, with the 20th edition and the new, what are they up to, 5th edition now, I think, for it? Woo! But we're talking about the classic 1990 second edition of White Wolf Publishing's Werewolf the Apocalypse. Now I get my hair all bushy and ready for it. I'm wearing a wolf on my chest, and I'm ready to go. So this first video, I want to talk about getting ready for the game. Now, I haven't played, I haven't run a World of Darkness campaign since about 2000. Since about 2000, when 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons first came out, we were playing World of Darkness, me and at the time, the gang I was rolling with. And that just kind of ended our Werewolf World of Darkness game. But we had been playing it for a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years at that point we've been running it. And wow, a lot of great adventures. We really loved the system. The strength of the system, the combat of the system, the goth punk world setting. Especially since I'm from New York City and we were all playing it. We're all from New York City or the Bronx, and we're familiar with the Lower East Side, Alphabet City, Greenwich Village, that part of the city as well as Uptown. So it made playing the game that much more realistic. Yeah, because we were playing a game where our characters were running down the same blocks we were hanging out a couple of nights ago. Our characters are going to the same clubs that we went into. So it did really set things in our mind pretty strongly. But now, it's been so long, and I have a group of players that were not playing with me back then. Although I've been playing with Ron since I was a teenager in the 80s, back when I was working nights, schedules just really didn't work out. So I had a bit of a different gaming group back then. And now, all but one of my players, Kyle, they've never played World of Darkness. And even he only had a very short run with Vampire. So, I had a few books left over, not many, from the fire that we had in the apartment back in 2009. Wow, that's a long time ago. So I needed to get stuff. I didn't feel like I had enough to fully run a really good experience for the stories that are told in a World of Darkness game. And that leads me to today's video. I spent the last year doing my best, put some money aside here and there to rebuy some books. All the gaming books for the RPG. At least for the werewolf stuff. I did end up getting some of the vampire stuff that I thought I might need, as well as some of the more non-aligned World of Darkness books, which really are my favorites. Sorcerer, Gypsy, Demon Hunter X. Love those 3 source books. They're not going to have anything to do with the campaign I'm currently running right now. But that's what leads me to this video, as I said. So I want to talk to you about what I did, what I needed, what I felt like I needed. Well, let's be honest here. I'll tell you the bare minimums of what you would need if you want to run a second edition World of Darkness, Werewolf the Apocalypse, New York City campaign. I'll let you know what the bare minimum is that you need for that. But then, I'm also going to talk about how I expanded upon that. What I wanted to do to give my players a chance to fully immerse themselves. The World of Darkness games, which no matter which one you're playing, whether it's Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, whether it's Mage, whether it's Wraith, whether it's Mummy, they all have the same feel that runs through all of them, no matter what else. And that's the storytelling aspect of how the books are written. Oh, they really are great. I love these rule books. They are some of my favorite written rule books for RPGs that I've ever encountered, that I've had the pleasure of reading through, of learning and studying. And that's because this is a real storyteller system. Everything. There's so much background. There's so much rich history that the characters really need to know. When they go through their first change, and that's going to be a video on itself, when they go through their first change and finally realize that they're not what they thought they were, that they're not simply a wolf in the woods or a zoo, they're not simply a human running around the hillsides or the inner city, that they are Garou, they are werewolf, and there's a whole society. This isn't like mad creatures as depicted in most movies, American Werewolf in London. No, they have a society. And you become a part of that. You figuratively die in human society, in most cases. And you are a Garou full time. You are this echo warrior of Gaia. And I really wanted the players to have the opportunity to get into the world, the characters, but also the tribes that these characters belong to. Because upon the first change, the lucky ones that are found, they get taught what they are, which includes their own history. And of course, there's a general history that they're all told, but each werewolf tribe also has their own perspective, their own viewpoint on certain Garou historical events. I really wanted the characters. If the players, I'm sorry, not the characters, if the players really were going to get everything they could out of this game, they needed to learn. At least they needed to have the opportunity to learn as much as they can about the world that they are now playing in. Funny that it is based on the real world, and they needed to learn more about this world than they ever needed to learn walking into a Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk campaign in D&D. But it's needed. It really is. It sets everything up. And I've seen it work. Ron, and we'll be getting into all of this in this video and in future videos. I got about 4 or 5 of these werewolf videos planned. Ron has chosen a Glasswalker Oran. So Glasswalkers is his tribe. They're very city orientated. They're into businesses, the mob. They have probably some of the most dealings with vampires, or as the Garou call them, commonly leeches. City Garou, through and through. And that's a rare thing. They're the only tribe that really is completely embraced in human society and technology. And Ron has really gone to bat studying up the history of the Glasswalkers, including their attitudes towards the other tribes. Because that's important, because after the first change, while the characters, in this case Ron with his Oran, they're waiting to undergo a rite of passage. And during this between time, they're being taught everything they possibly can by their other Garou, by the elders of their tribe, of the multiple tribes that hang out together in these septs, as they're called, these cairns. And so So they did have a chance to learn. And by me giving my players the opportunity to read up and learn some of this history on their own, one, it saves time. At the gaming table, I don't have to make a roll and then tell one of them, this is what you know, disseminate it with the rest of the pack, as you see fit. No, now this way, Ron, Kyle, they've all had a chance to read up on the tribes that they've picked because they're given this history. And like Ron is nice, he's going for it. And he's not always the biggest role player there is. He certainly loves role playing, because role playing has not always been his main strong forte. But now he's pulled me off on the side a few times. He's like, "Oh, John, the way the Silver Fangs," is what Kyle is. The way they did this, they did that, the way they treated the tribe, it's going to be interesting. But anyway, there are books, a lot of books for this. I want to take a moment right now, and I'm going to go over with you the minimum that you need and possibly the maximum. Is there such a thing as a maximum? Is that why it's maximum? It has a max ceiling to it. But yeah, I got them divided into 3 different stacks. And I'm going to go over them with you. A stack of books strictly for storyteller. If you're used to D&D, that's the Dungeon Master or Game Master. A stack of books good for the storyteller and the players as well. And a stack here that'll have to do with your campaign. If you're choosing to run a rite of passage campaign and using the rite of passage adventure module. But yeah, so we're going to go over these books so you can get an idea of what it is you're gonna need and you're gonna want out of this. Now, this is there are rules in the core book, in the back, in the appendix for miniatures, using miniatures and terrain setting for this game. But this game was not designed. This RPG was conceived really to be theater of the mind, and that's the way I always ran it. Except for this upcoming new jump into it. And that's going to be the sister video to this. To follow this up is going to be on all the other stuff that I got that you don't need. But I wanted to table build. I wanted to. All right, let me show you some of these books, and I'll talk about them quickly. Let you know why they're needed, why they're wanted, why they may be a priority. All right. So yeah, let's start with what the storyteller needs. First and foremost, this is really the only thing you need. This is it. Got a whole bunch of character sheets right here I've been working on. That's the way it looks without the character sheets inside. You can see like the faces of the comic book page that you're gonna open it up to, and yeah, this is what you need. This is the one and only thing you need. You can end the video right now, go out and get this, and you will have what you need to run the game, along with 10-sided dice. You need 10-sided dice. A lot of them. I would suggest a minimum of 10. A minimum of 10-sided dice. But possibly a minimum of 20. You want to keep like one set of 10 just for the storyteller and another set of 10 out for the players to use for dice pools. But yeah, so this book and a whole bunch of 10-sided dice. This book is going to give you everything that you need to run the game. I like the way it's set up. It doesn't even get to character creation until book 2. It's like divided into 3 books. And character creation doesn't even begin in book 2 because it is so vitally important. And this is what I believe. I didn't see it written anywhere, stated anywhere. I just believe, after reading through it, that it is vitally important to understand the world of Werewolf the Apocalypse before you even are taught how to make a character. Now, this is different than most other popular role-playing games. Let's take my favorite, for example, Dungeons and Dragons. You get the player's handbook, and it opens up immediately to how to create a character. Because there's no one set setting, so to speak. You can play in Greyhawk, you can play in Faerun, you can play in Eberron, Ravenloft. So they're all going to have their own different world settings. So the Player's Handbook really just deals with that. It just deals with creating the characters, right? Now the difference is in the Werewolf games, the first like 100 pages you're going to read is all about the world, history, the mythological beliefs of the Garou, and it's all very important. And after you learn all that, then you get to the next chapter, which is about character creation, and that is that's where it's going to get even more fun. The character creation is done primarily through point system. I enjoy that. It gives a good balance for everyone for a starting point. Although, unlike other role-playing games, like let's say Mutants and Masterminds, it isn't completely point-driven from beginning to end. Point system is just for character creation. After that, when you get experience points, you get gifts, so that doesn't count against your character's points per level, or in this case, they don't call it level, they call it ranks. I like that. I like that, the way that system works out. So then the second book is all about character creation. It gets into the tribes, the 13 different tribes of the Garou Nation, into the different types of werewolves. You can be born a wolf, you can be born a human, or you could be born from the union of two Garou, which makes you what they call a metis, or a mule. And you are born in your Krynos form. That's the half man, half wolf, the classic wolf form, wolf-headed, man-bodied, furried, clawed form, So those are the 3 different types, and it breaks that down. And then it does have a system kind of like classes in Dungeons & Dragons. And that's depending on which of the 5 different phases of the moon you were born under. It will determine whether you're a trickster, or you deal with spirits, or if you're a lawgiver, whether you're like a skald, you know what that is? Like a Viking warrior, poet kind of thing. Or maybe you're just a full-out warrior, So it gives a great balance between tribe, between what moon phase you were born under, and whether you're a Hamid, whether you're a lupus, or whether you're a mule in between. Great system. It deals with magic in a way that no other system I really have played deals with magic. You're not really casting spells as much as you're enacting rituals and getting spirits to teach you things or to do things for you. It really pulls everything together. Every single thing you need. It even gives you a starting location here in New York City at Central Park as what they call a cairn. It is Scepter the Green and is this holy area filled with mystic divine gnosis, like manna from the gods. It's run right in the heart of New York City in Central Park, and it'll give you the setting for that. The elders that run it, some NPCs that are part of it. And that is excellent. Everything you need right there. Now, besides the dice, besides the core book, there is one other thing that any good storyteller, DM, GM may want, and that right here is your screen. Has all the information pretty much that the storyteller is going to need to look at during the game. And it gives the players a nice little interesting fight scene to look at. Like all role-playing games, this really does come in really handy, and I'm glad they had it. Now, if you really, really, really want to delve deeper into the storyteller aspect, there is other books such as the Storyteller's Handbook and the Storyteller's Companion, which aren't 100% needed. It really depends on how much deeper you're going to be taking this game. If you're going to be expanding it beyond just a rite of passage, and your players really like it, and you all want to continue with it, then it'd be possibly necessary to get the other 2 books, the Storyteller Handbook and the Storyteller Companion book. But to start with, if you're just going to run a one-off campaign to see how everyone feels about this game, you're not going to need them. Not going to need them right up front. These are things you get later, down the road, once you've made a determination of whether this is going to be a campaign setting for you. Now, keep in mind, this is all out of print. This is all out of print. You can find PDFs for this online, or go to like Amazon, maybe some individuals on eBay that have some books available to buy, and that's really the only way you're going to be able to do it if you're looking for the second edition stuff. I was not a fan of. I haven't seen the 20th edition, 20th anniversary edition. I admit I haven't seen that, but everything else that I've seen after second edition hasn't really impressed me, which is why I'm going back to this. Now, one final thing the storyteller GM may want is the Book of the Umbra. This is the second edition version of it. There's a first edition also. The Umbra is right next to us. We can't see it. We can't access it. We're just lowly humans. But it's right here. It's right here. We just don't know about it. And it is the spirit world, it is the veil that separates the two worlds. And it is very important. The Garou are as much creatures of the spirit world as they are of the physical world. And if you're going to be dealing with spirits, a lot of traveling through the Umbra, which you probably will be, this book will be a must eventually down the line for the storytellers. It is. I think the Umbra is more important than these two books, especially to start with. I'll put these two books at the bottom of the list, and Umbra right above them. That's the way I would set those up. Now, the other stack. I got two other stacks. Now, the other stack is books that your players may want. You, as a storyteller, may want them also. They're great information. Oh, God, great information. But whether PDF version that you're looking for these, or whether you are going to be finding the hardcover of these, what you're going to be looking for first and foremost is the second edition player's handbook, the guide, player's guide. The hardcover version of it, second edition, is everything the player's really going to need. It gives them deeper information on the tribes that they're going to be playing, as well as their moon signs. It is invaluable, I think, for the players. Now, three books I want to mention that I'm not going to say are completely needed. These are something where if you want to expand your knowledge on particular characters. First, the Book of the Auspices. This is a great book, especially for beginning players, I think, because it will really help them understand the concept of not only auspices in general, but it's also going to give them a good idea about how the auspices are viewed specifically in their tribe, as well as the other of the 13 tribes. It's going to really set you on your path of understanding the class, because that's pretty much what the auspices are. They're pretty much the classes in this game. And it's really going to help you understand your character that much better. Now, we're, as far as I know, getting away from UFO conspiracies here, as far as I know, we're all human. You're human, I'm human, you're watching this, I'm making this. We're all human here. So we understand what it's like to be human. We might not understand what it means to be other humans, but we understand what it means to be human from our perspective. So there's no book needed on being human. But if you want to play a wolf, if you want to play a werewolf character who is born lupus, this book is a must. This not only gets into handling some mentality that you may not think of, that you may overlook, but as well as just in the Garou Nation, how the lupus are viewed, how they interact. And of course, there's new gifts and abilities listed for lupus characters in this book. If you're playing a wolf, you got to get this. I really do believe that. Now, for the metis, for the player who's playing the mule, the metis, Garou shall not mate with Garou. Well, you're a walking sin, my friend. Actually, the book of the Guardian of the Cairns, which is a good book to have in general. especially for the storyteller, I think. But for the player, where this really shines for the player is the last half or a third of the book. Just like this gives information on playing a lupus, this gives information on menace. What you need to keep in mind about how menace are usually treated, how different tribes see them, different auspices see them, with a few extra, nods to the menace, a few new gifts, merits and flaws for them to choose. Yeah, if you're playing a menace, this is a book you might definitely want to get to help you get more into your character. Now, before I get into the big ones here, I want to mention 2 books that you might not probably need. But I understand there's a difference between need and want. So the first of the 2 need versus want books is Combat. Now, this is good for any World of Darkness campaign setting you're running. You're running Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Wraith the Oblivion, the Mage, Ascension, what was Mummy, The Awakening, any of them. This is going to give you amazing combat options, from combat maneuvers that you can get to weapons, weapon styles, ammunition. It really does open up, well, as it says, the combat for everything in the World of Darkness. It's not needed. It's not. But it'll give you a lot of nice little bells and whistles. Now, kinfolk, the unsung heroes. Kinfolk play an important part in the Garou nation. They, where Garou basically come from. Since Garou cannot mate with Garou, they usually mate with kinfolk, human and wolf kinfolk alike. These kinfolk play an important part with the in the whole greater scheme of things. And some of them themselves have even climbed to greatness and have even been able to awaken a little bit of that Garou blood in them to give them a little bit of advantage over other humans. And I bring that up because one of the things that you can have at your disposal as a werewolf in the game is a background called kinfolk. And that's where that book might come in important. Now, it's going to be too long to mention every single thing here. So we're going to just take a quick look, because there are tribe books. I have all the tribe books right here, with the exception of 2, which are out on loan right now. Ryan has the Uktena book, and the Silent Strider book is in Andrew's hands. But each of these books breaks down beautifully the tribe that you want to know about. They also have, I absolutely love, they even have characters, NPC, archetypes. If you want to know what a Black Fury Galliard is like, this is an example. Right here. This is an example of one. And each one of these books, for each of the tribes, each of them, they have all of the same information, but from the tribe's point of view. You have new gifts. Now, gifts are I mentioned that before, those are the special magical abilities that Garou learn. So each of these books has new gifts just for the tribe itself, new merits and flaws, things that make him personal, And your players are going to get a world of information. If your players really want to know what it's like to play their character, let's say it's a Red Talon. They're all wolves. They don't mate with humans. There's no humans involved with Red Talons. You get yourself way of the Wolf book and this, and your player is going to not have many questions at all. At all. But yes, there is one for each and every one of these tribes that are out there. I said I have 2 that are out on loan right now, the Silent Strider and the Uktena. But otherwise, this here represents every single one of them. And your players, if you enjoy the game, I can't tell you how much your player is going to want their tribe book. And you're going to want, as the storyteller, the game master, you're going to want them as well. Because of the information that's in them. Amazing, fantastic information. So I think that that's going to bring us now. You've seen the books that I think that the storyteller definitely needs. I have now just gone over these cool extra books that storyteller or players might need. Now, there are a few gaming adventures. Not a lot was ever published. Storytellers are really expected to run the game themselves. But Rite of Passage was one of the adventures that they came out with, which is that exactly. After the characters have their first change and they come to realize that they're a werewolf, they will eventually, soon after that, have to go on a Rite of Passage to prove themselves in the Garu Nation, to advance from being seen as nothing but pups to full-fledged Garu adult werewolves. This is a great book. It'll teach you a lot about Garu society as both a storyteller and as a player. That's the only thing you really need if you want to run a Rite of Passage adventure. And this is your first time storytelling, you don't have a lot of experience of it. Now, because of the information in the back of the core book is based on New York City. Now, you could place a cairn, create your own cairn and put it anywhere, put it in your own hometown. But if you're running that, then with Rite of Passage, you're probably also going to want to get Rage Across New York. Now, there's a few Rage books where they talk about the Garu in different cities. This one will be very important because it ties in with the core book excellently. And it doesn't tell you just about the Central Park cairn. This is New York State. This represents the state. So this is all the different werewolves from the Finger Lakes, from Rochester, from Albany, all the way down to Manhattan. This will tell you about them. So it does pair perfectly with the core book and with the Rite of Passage if you want to run it out of New York City. If you're running the Rite of Passage, there are a few things you may want. Without giving too much away, and hopefully players haven't watched this far into it, being more than a half hour in, depending on my editing, there is, in the Rite of Passage, a scene where you will run into a werebear. There's not many were creatures outside of werewolves, thanks to werewolves. You'll have to learn the War of Rage yourself. This video is not about that. But the Gural. Now, the other shape changers all have their shape-changing book. The Gural details the werebears. If you want to really bring the scene in your Rite of Passage with the werebear to life, then you may want to get this PDF or find the hardcover. Oh, not hardcover, there's no hardcover. The softcover of this. And you can really beef up. Well, beef up's not the right word, but yeah, you can really full out the NPC. Now, you may also be interested in Book of the Weaver. Now, the Weaver doesn't play a huge part in this adventure. But if you have Glasswalkers in your party or Bone Gnawers in your party, there's a chance this may have some effect. If you're playing it out of New York City, it's Weaver heaven. You might want to have this book also. It'll detail information about the technology aspect of the triune, the wild, the weaver, and the worm. And the worm is also another book that you're probably going to want for background information, because the worm and its servants are really the linchpin of every bad thing that's going on in the werewolf game. And that is thanks to companies such as Pentex. And there's a couple of Pentex books that they have come out with. And again, if you really want to expand your Rite of Passage module book, then these extra informations on Pentex and the subsidiaries are going to be a lifesaver for you, filling things out, filling them up, putting a little meat on the Pentex bones. And the very last thing, and this is kind of a must. This is kind of a must, I think. And that is dealing with Fomorians. Fomorians are these evil, bane-filled spirits that the worm has created to wreak havoc. And they did come out with a Freak Legion, a book of Fomori. It's a little disgusting. I believe this is a Black Dog. Black Dog Publishing. And you see anything by Werewolf and it's listed as Black Dog, that's 18 and older. Oh yeah, that book is disgusting. But yeah, so that's it. That's how, that's everything I needed book-wise. Now, there's going to be another video on this subject, and it's everything not book-wise that I needed to turn this into what I'm hoping to be is a really killer table design, miniatures, magnificent event going on here. But this one book is really all you need. That's it. And a screen. And some dice. And maybe the rite of passage. That's it. That's all you need. But this is a fantastic system. Combat is so fast in this. The description, the storytelling. This game brings out aspects of role-playing. Role-playing. More than any other RPG I've played. Players that don't necessarily get into the role-playing of it do with this game. So yeah, there's going to be a few more videos. I don't know, 5 or 6 videos in this series. So, you know, I'll be dropping one a month. I don't want to get things too overblown on Werewolf yet. So look for some more videos on this. But yeah, if you want to play a really good classic retro RPG game, I highly suggest take a look at Werewolf Publishing's World of Darkness stuff. All right. Thank you for checking this out. I'm your buddy Big John G. For Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and I am